This is A-Game. Fast acting, long lasting, with no side effects.
Hey all my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel, where we embrace our femininity, increase our womanly value, and celebrate our brothers. So join me on our feminine journey to learn, heal, and grow. Hey there, my Crimsonites, and welcome to the Crimson Cure channel. I'm your host, femininity coach, and author of The Crimson Cure, and this is my perspective. So what we're talking about today is something very interesting. Tichina Arnold, you all, if you're Gen Xers or whatever, you know her as Pam from Martin, and she was the wife in Everybody Hates Chris. I've always liked her acting. I've always thought she was funny. But however, just recently, she made a Twitter post asking a very important question, very simple question. And I'm going to read an article about it, and then I'll come back and give you my perspective. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and share my screen as usual, and then we are going to read this article together. Okay, Tichina Arnold sparks debate on Twitter after posing question about the emasculation of Black men. Tichina Arnold asked an interesting question on Twitter on Wednesday that sparked a debate. Honest question. This is what she wrote. Honest question. What can we as Black women in America do to stop aiding in the emasculation of Black men in America? The 52-year-old actress tweeted. That was real simple. What can we as Black women in America do to stop aiding in the emasculation of Black men in America? However, Black men in the comments rejected the notion that Black women should play a role in that effort. So one said, I appreciate the gesture, Ms. Arnold, but I don't know if that is your responsibility. One user wrote, in and of itself, emasculation is a subjective construct. T women, G men portrayed in media, independent Black women, none of this emasculates me. My manhood isn't that fragile. And I find that to be such a disingenuous way to answer it, because this isn't about if an individual man feels any type of way about being emasculated or not. This is about the whole. And that's really one of the pet peeves of mine. When you start talking and making general comments, and then somebody comes along and makes it anecdotal. I don't like that. Anyway, Terrain Walker, founder and editor-in-chief of Context Media Group, wrote that the key is listening to Black men. Our sisters can understand that we're each other's natural counterpart, and there is a clear agenda at work to keep us separate, and Black men specifically a weak and permanent underclass, he explained. Listening to us is the beginning. One viewer argued that Black women need to turn away from feminist ideals to help Black men reclaim their masculinity. Reject feminism, they wrote. Reject the superiority complex that the dominant society teaches y'all to have. We'll be gravy in no time if those two things are done. Some women added it's not their responsibility. What about us as Black women? Where's the protection and respect for us? We as Black women are not responsible for the image that Black men have created for themselves. I wish people would stop placing this responsibility on us. That's not even the question. That was not the question. Another argued that Black men take advantage of their privilege. Black men use their privilege as men in a patriarchal society as a battering ram against everyone in the community, and it's for us to aid in some imaginary emasculation of Black men. This is the same tired narrative that creates pick-me mamas and overworked daughters. Stop. See, they come in with the pick-me. Afterwards, Arnold returned to Twitter to recap the replies. Her tweets, still reading comments. Woo, 2 thoughts. Number 1, despite all, I will never be fearful of asking any question. Number 2, the Black man and woman need to heal. Together, we are up against a plethora of odds that are continually stacked against us, but it won't change my love for all of us. Prior to sparking a lively debate on Twitter, Arnold, we don't care about this other stuff. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that real quick. And of course, there were some notable people that many of you have heard of and seen right here in this space. I'm going to share the screen one more time just to share the Twitter timeline a little bit on the responses. So just to take a look, there's me. I wrote, Black women as a whole need to re-examine their allegiance to feminist ideals and then reject them entirely. Those ideals have done nothing but rob us of our intrinsic value and help us rob our men of the same. Nicole's View, shout out to Nicole's View, said eliminate any feminist agenda that looks to demonize Black men via media, in the home, etc. Demonize the term toxic masculinity. There are toxic people in all avenues of life. Having this hateful term in the lexicon against Black men is evil. Uphold strong Black men. Okay, so then we get Dr. Curry. Shout out to Dr. Curry. Dr. Tommy Curry says, Ms. Arnold, that is a question that requires a more earnest conversation about the internalized stereotypes, class divisions, and contemporary gender ideas that continue to assert Black males are pathological, violent, and prone to deviant behavior. He continues, consequently, you have a small class of economically mobile and educated Black men and women who believe Black men who are uneducated and working class are irredeemable and dangerous to the more respectable lot. This dynamic leads to cultural images of Black men that are dehumanizing and limiting. Okay. So, I just wanted to point out a few people who we are sort of familiar with in this space. So shout out to Miss Erica Lashai. Said, first of all, kudos to you for having the heart to even ask this. I believe combating any media, music, or conversations that try to reframe what our men are without their consent is vital, and refusing to support any behavior that encourages emasculation. Okay. So we had a few people that we are pretty much familiar with in this space who decided to reply to the original post. And so shout out to them. Of course, there's the Black Authority. This is the last one I'm going to read. So he said, go back to checking each other over anti-Black male behavior. Sisters go harder on each other's hair than they do over hating Black men. Stop the sick culture, saying a government job, government benefits, a dog, a degree, or girlfriends take the place of a man. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that. Okay, so the question that she asked didn't have really anything to do with a whole lot of what those answers were. She said, what can Black women do to stop aiding in the emasculation of Black men in America? What she didn't say was, how can Black women be responsible for the appearance value of Black men? Or how should Black women clean up the appearance value? Or she didn't say that. She said, stop aiding in the emasculation. And the answers did not even reflect or acknowledge the question, right? That emasculation of Black men does take place, and Black women have a very instrumental part in that. And the way in which the collective of Black women have an instrumental part in the emasculation of Black men is the absence of fathers in the home, raising the boys by themselves. And you're not a man, so you don't understand masculinity. You don't know how to teach it. You don't know how to cultivate it. You don't know how to make leaders because you're not men. No matter how masculine you try to behave, you are not a man. And so therefore cannot render the type of discipline or raising or teaching that a man can do. Okay? So the sisterhood responded. The amount of deflecting was sickening. Right? Because there really wasn't any, except for the few of us, there really wasn't anybody that acknowledged the actual question and tried to answer what Black women can do to stop with the emasculation. I went to feminism because men aren't in the home, because why? Why aren't a lot of Black men in the home? See, the narrative is that they don't want to be in the home, but the reality is Black women push them out of the home, or never invite them in the first place to be part of boys' lives, so that boys can grow up to understand what masculinity looks like, what it feels like, and how it should be portrayed and how it should be demonstrated within their lives and among everyone else. Right? Too many Black women actually started talking about how it wasn't their responsibility to maintain the good image of Black men, and that wasn't even a question. That's just a deflection. That's something to get everybody's mind off of that and start talking about Black women and their woes and problems, so-called problems, right? They were only concerned about their own image as Black women, which is in the gutter, by the way. In the gutter, by the way. The other issue was how deep Black women were in the victimhood narrative. Y'all are real deep in that victimhood narrative. And it's really kind of sick to see it on display every time somebody brings up what Black people can do for the community, and then they specify men. Y'all go on the attack and then start talking about how y'all are victims and somebody need to come help y'all. Like, when you talk about who needs to help you, who are you talking to? You actually saying that men need to come help you. The same men that you don't even want to acknowledge that you have a hand in aiding and abetting and in their emasculation. Because you do everything you can to emasculate a Black man and to disrespect a Black man, whether that man is a part of your family or friends or circle, or you don't know him from a can of paint. You're ready to disrespect the Black man. You're ready to, talk down to a Black man, which is emasculation, let alone effeminization. Because this is the same group of women that like to talk about intersectionality, that like to talk about all of these other things. Where do you think the emasculation and effemination of Black men come from? Where do we think that comes from? What we're perpetuating it as a whole, as a group of Black women. All right. Then it started talking about Black male privilege. Where do you live? Because Miss Tashina Arnold was very specific when she said America. So I don't know if you live on the moon with the side of it that's made out of cheese or not, but in America here on Earth, okay? Black men don't have a privilege, especially one that they can wield over Black women, or that they have ever wielded over Black women in this country. Black men have never oppressed nor had power over Black women in this country. And just because once upon a time this country was ran on patriarchal ideas, that doesn't, the ones who were in charge of that patriarchy did not see Black men as human. So they didn't have a privilege because they didn't have a right in it. So we can dispense with the narrative of that. No, Black women didn't discuss the actual question. There was no mention about fatherhood, right? Being a key component in what Black women can do to help stop aiding in the emasculation of Black men. It was only the sick narrative that a lot of Black women carry about Black men. There was no comment about how Black women's adaptation of feminism and intersectionality lead to the fatherless homes that help produce emasculated and effeminized Black men. How you got your sons twerking just as hard as you got your girls twerking. Nobody talks about that. No one stopped to have a discourse, because that might actually lead to the discovery of truths that lead to actual healing. No one brought up values. When I was reading the comments, nobody talked about values. Nobody talked about what was the value of masculinity and how has its absence in our collective homes and communities affected us as a whole. Because I do believe that is what Miss Arnold was trying to get to. And if she sees this video, I thank you, Miss Tashina Arnold, for asking a question. But judging by the types of answers that were received, we have a very long way to go and only a few women to travel that road with. We are going to have to, as a group, rediscover our value system and abandon the American nightmare altogether. And unless and until we do so, questions like this that she asked will go largely unanswered or answered in a very, very disingenuous way. So sound off in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel if you have not. Once again, I'm your host, The Crimson Cure, and this was my perspective. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.
Hey guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And if you've got more to say on the topic, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to support our sponsor, who so graciously supports this channel by clicking the description box and the link for A-Game at agameherbal.com. You can go ahead and get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10. This has been yet another Crimson Cure production, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.